I think Oscar is about 8 months old now, and while he's still a juvenile, he is much bigger and needs a bigger enclosure, so we have to do that soon. He's still eating a really decent portion of his diet of protein, so crickets, mealworms, occasionally small roaches or hornworms. The crickets are my favorite, but it's hard to get to the store frequently, so we actually order mealworms in bulk that arrive by mail, and then I just put them in a big jar with a bunch of dry oatmeal, and they live in there happily. So that's sort of the staple during the week, at least. The crickets are fun when we have them though, because they sing at night. So Oscar needs to be upgraded, and we ought to be handling him more. We've been really busy lately, so he doesn't get a whole lot of handling during the week. But he still is getting daily salads. Today is rainbow chard and grated carrot with a few mealworms in there to make it wiggle. And we keep some dry dragon food in the back of the tank, but he's not super interested in it. And we also change out his water every day to make sure that he has fresh water. And right now, his tank is only about 90 degrees. I think it's supposed to be about 100 degrees. I think it's because it's chilly outside, and we've got the laundry room window open, so that's lowering the temperature. But above his tank, he has a couple of different lights. He's got his daytime UV light to make sure that he's getting full spectrum of what he needs. He's got a daytime heat light and then a nighttime heat light. I just dusted about 8 crickets and put them in there, and he's been snacking on them. That's why they're all white. They have calcium powder dusted on them because apparently he needs that. The crickets are kept in this little tank separate from him so that he doesn't eat them all at once, and so that they have access to food, and this is where they are when they sing at night. So in there we've got some orange cricket food cubes, which dehydrate every day or so, so you have to replenish them. There's also some clear hydrated weird gel chunks. They're actually they're made for plants. You can buy them. I think it's been made by Miracle-Gro. You can buy them, hydrate them, and they increase in size, and then I guess mix them in with the soil, and so that way when you water your plants, they retain the moisture and give the roots more moisture in between waterings. But it's good for crickets too, because crickets need to drink water, but yet they drown themselves in water frequently because they're just dumb bugs and they don't know any better. So this allows them to have the hydration they need without drowning themselves, because a soggy dead cricket is super annoying. And then there's also some powdered cricket food down in the bottom. And then of course some structural substrate that allows them to hide and hang out and do things besides eat each other, which I kind of get the feeling that they do, especially when they're older and more mature like these guys. They do bite. Apparently if you put too many at a time, more than the dragon can feed on in a short period, they will actually bite the dragon, which is not cool. So I'm pretty sure they bite themselves too. As he grows, Oscar continues to molt. I haven't been tracking it with specificity, but he appears to molt every couple of weeks, and that's that snakeskin looking stuff on the ground. Sometimes they come off in big solid pieces, which is fascinating, and I sort of want to keep it, but my husband would think that I'm really gross, and I do that kind of stuff all the time, so I'll restrain myself. But it is kind of cool. You can tell that it's about to happen. His whole body lightens, but really this is just the skin lifting away and drying, giving it a lighter appearance, and then it sloughs off and he's dark again. Although we don't handle him as often as we should, being a dragon, he is still quite docile and will let me reach into the tank and grab him. He doesn't freak out, and that's because we handled him, I guess, sufficiently when he was a baby, so he knows that I am a provider and I'm not going to hurt him. It's actually unclear how smart dragons are. Maybe they're so docile just because they're really dumb. I don't know. Anyway, people dress them up in costumes and stuff, so I think that it's just their nature to be chill. And I think he wants back into his tank to eat his crickets. But I was hoping that he would show us his beard, which he's doing now whenever he's irritated. We do have to clean out his tank on maybe a twice weekly basis because he poops. I think he might even be pooping daily now, or every other day or so. It's gross poop and it's pretty stinky. It actually reminds me a lot of chicken poop. Well, reptiles and birds are related from an evolutionary standpoint, and so that would make sense. They both, reptiles and birds, don't poop and pee separately. It's combined in their bodies. It's not separated like humans and other mammals. So it's this nasty squirt of just grossness, but it does dry in the tank, and then it doesn't stink anymore, which is nice, and you can just scoop it out similar to the way that you scoop cat poop from cat litter. So I just let it dry before I scoop it out. Also similar to birds, reptile ears are just simply holes on the sides of their heads. And some birds, I don't know if all of them, but maybe the more intelligent birds, I'm not sure, do actually really like to be scratched on their heads around their ear holes. And they're basically where their jawbone connects into their skull, if they have jaws. I guess birds don't really have jaws. Anyway, I was curious about whether the dragon would like it, and so I tried, and he did appear to like it too. They close their eyes and just sort of lean into it. A bird will fluff up their feathers to allow better access. And I'm not sure why, although I have a suspicion that it's really important to keep your ear holes clean and free from parasites. And so in preening, social preening, if you're, messing around with each other's heads and ear holes, then it's more likely that you will be disturbing or removing bugs and parasites and whatnot. So that's my theory. also similar to birds, the eyelids, unlike ours, which close mostly from the top down, dragons close from the bottom up as well. So it's sort of an equal 50-50 closure, which is fun. I don't know if he's got inner eyelids. I haven't seen them. I could look it up, but an inner eyelid, which you may have seen on cats, and a lot of animals have them, is a method of being able to still see through a membrane, but yet protect the eyeball better when you're doing dangerous things like eating or swimming or being in a bunch of sand. So that's why I've been curious whether or not dragons have them. So that'll be on my list of things to observe, at least if I'm too lazy to look it up. Oscar's spikes are now quite hard. They were more pliable and soft when he was a baby, and now each individual spike is not as hard and sharp as a thorn on a rose bush, so to give an example, but they can hurt if you're not careful. The good thing is, though, that his skin is quite loose around his body, so as you're handling him, the pokies just sort of move out of the way because they're able to slide on his body versus being fixed and pokey like a hedgehog when it's mad. The scales on his body are fascinating, like fish scales or snake scales. They allow some protection for his body, but they move around and slide on top of one another as he needs in order to bend and move his body around. So that's the overview for juvenile bearded dragon at about 8 months.